Okay, talking to my next guest who collected over 7,000 signatures on a petition to do with bringing back some rail service on the old Ian End rail line. The idea would be trying to get $1 billion investment to get a modern passenger and freight rail service running around the old tracks. That petition is going to the House of Commons tomorrow, I believe. Let's talk more about it. My guest is Warren Skolrud. He is a resident of Shawnigan Lake. He's the guy who started the petition. He's joining us on the line. Sir, hello.
Hi there. Good to talk to you.
So, set this up. What is this petition calling for? I kind of sketched it out a bit there, but give us the details.
The petition is calling for the federal government to actually sit down with First Nations, first of all, with serious intent and actual, truth that we need this line, and to work with them to figure that out, right? So true reconciliation is a two-way street, and together they can come up with a formula that works for everybody, so that we can have a modern train service on the island.
Okay, so part of what this petition is calling for is please start working with the First Nations to get this to happen. Because my understanding of the story is that's kind of where it's sitting, right? Because we had that big ruling a year ago, almost a year ago, where the governments were left to make a decision because of that court case saying you got to decide what you're going to do with this. And when they came back, they said that what they were going to do was do all the consultation and the reconciliation piece with First Nations before moving forward with anything. So I guess that's where it's still sitting?
Absolutely, yeah. They're still in the process of that, but from what I gather and from what I've heard, they're not really taking it seriously, which, in the case of the Sonalis, I don't know the details of exactly why they did what they did or why they demanded what they demanded. But, I mean, if the federal government came in with a fluffy answer and they just felt that it wasn't going anywhere, maybe that was the only choice they could make. I don't know. I don't want to speak for them.
Right.
But, the bottom line is that this could be done. It needs to just have a really good concerted effort and maybe a little bit more give on the federal government side in order to make it happen. Because there is no other way we're going to have a railway on Vancouver Island if this one disappears. If it's gone, it's gone.
Now, part of it is saying, please work with the First Nations and get this moving. But another part of the petition is calling for $1 billion to a fund of $1 billion to be created. Where would that money come from?
Okay, so, I mean, you can get federal and provincial transportation funds and put them together, right? And actually, in fact, because they want to do rails and trails, you could also bring in the active transportation fund as well to build out the trails that are already along the side of the rails, 105 kilometers, I believe, and connect it even further along the trail. So you can bring a bunch of pots of money together to get that to happen. So the Island Corridor Foundation, their business case calls for $431 million. I see in the First Nations the First Nations engagement document that there was some requests for road moves, that there was stuff like water mitigation that they wanted to do, even land swaps. That costs money. So to me, you take that $431 million, which would just be restoring the rail exactly where it is in the state that it is, but putting new rails and new ties and everything in place so that it's safe again. On top of that, we need more than that. And, if it didn't take all of that to get there, then maybe we electrify the whole thing as well, which would be hugely popular.
But $1 billion, that's a huge amount of money. Do you think that people might balk at that?
Well, is it, though? Like, if you look over in Vancouver where they've got SkyTrain, they've got West Coast Express, that system has costed over $11 billion. They only have 2.6 million people in the entire Metro Vancouver area. We're coming up on 1 million by 2030. They will have 3 million by 2030. So that's a one-third difference. If you look across Canada, there's over $100 billion worth of projects on the go. There's only 40.5 million people in all of Canada. So to me, it's time for Vancouver Island to get its dues. If you look at the amount of infrastructure investment that's happened here, it's very, very little when you compare it to everywhere else across Canada.
Now, this petition, you've got MP Alistair McGregor to present it. Is that how it goes?
That's correct, yeah. So I reached out to, a couple of them at the beginning, but Alistair got back to me. He actually helped me. Like, I had some wording in there on the reconciliation piece, but he he tweaked it, made it a little bit stronger, and I really appreciated that. But yeah, he's represented it before in the House of Commons. He's spoken to it, and I thought he did a really good job of it. So he was a good choice.
So what do you think is going to happen tomorrow when this gets presented to the House of Commons?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what their answer is going to be. What I do know, though, is that 45 days later, they have to answer everybody that's a signatory on that petition with, what they're thinking, and maybe just give us the answer. Like, are they not interested in helping Vancouver Island out, or are they interested in helping us, move into the future and have a rail system on Vancouver Island?
And you're just a guy, right? In this context, you're just a Shawnigan Lake resident. You think we should do this. So what motivated you to go to all this work? I mean, collecting over 7,000 signatures, that's not nothing. You've done a pretty tremendous job here for just a local resident. What motivated you to take all of this on?
This started last year when the Vancouver Island Vancouver Island Transportation Corridor Coalition ran their petition. It got stuck at 1461 signatures. And a friend of mine, Paul Robinson, from way back in the day, he contacted me and let me know about it. And I just decided to use my skills and ability to try to help them bolster that petition. And, together we boosted that up to 10,400 in the end. And I did hear that at 5,000, the provincial government got interested in the railway. At 6,000, the federal government came out here to the island. And, then it carried on up to 10,400. So after the 14th of March decision that gave the land back to the Sonawas, I celebrated that. And, I mean, if that's what they want, they can have that. Maybe we can go around. But, after that, the application started falling off. People weren't talking about it anymore. And I just felt it needed to stay on the minds of people because it wasn't over yet. Until ICF says, there's no way that rail's coming back, then, I'm going to keep pushing for it because they own the line. They have a constitution to restore rail. They're made up of 14 First Nations and 5 regional districts. It kind of makes sense to support them. It's locally owned.
We're talking to Warren Skullroot. He's a Shawnigan Lake resident. He started this petition, which is going to be presented in the House of Commons by local MP Alistair McGregor. He represents, that Shawnigan Lake area and beyond. But where does it go from here? Where does rail on Vancouver Island go from here? I guess we'll have to see. Maybe we can touch base later and follow up.
Sounds great.
All right, but thank you for your time today, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Let's hope for good outcomes.